Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. La Republic de Cameroon has promoted corruption and no sector in the country is spared. Corruption has sunk deep into La Republic de Cameroon's government officials to a point where it is now normalized. From its judiciary outrightly robbing in daylight to its administration dishing out lofty promises that they would never fulfill, there is almost no end to the corruption. Recently visiting victims of the Boya Mountain race explosive attacks, the colonial La Republique du Cameroon Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi, promised to personally take care of the bills. This is a promise he never kept, as the victims in the hospitals were abandoned to themselves with no preferential treatment. This is going to reinforce the call to boycott all La Republique du Cameroon organized activities in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. More on that we'll talk about in Undaunted tonight, but let's not forget that the draft that started out with huge successes, as the draft for last weekend had a huge turnout of over 82,000 US dollars paid already in cash. Well, indeed, it is a year of acceleration, and now we'll just have the prime headlines usher us into the news of tonight.
All right, these are the prime headlines for today. Well, the Game Changer 2023 World Draft move on as we record huge success over the weekend. The interim government declares today and Tuesday as ghost town. La Republique du Cameroon remains unsafe for Ambazonia refugees. This is because a 23-year-old has died. We'll know the reason why she died. Also today, Ambazonians exploited with fuel scarcity by Tredex filling station. Amazonians exploited is a very terrible story that you must not miss. Also today, Boya Mountain race explosion victims all abandoned to death. Well, let's get the news in detail.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution and Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Amazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Amazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
The Savannah Zone, Dongamachon, Boyi, Mentrim, Ngokentuje, and Boyo counties. Last weekend was the turn of the Midland Zone, and that comprises of Mesa, Momo, Manu, Libelem counties. They all queued up in yet another successful outing. While the Savannah yielded 133,000 US dollars with 27,877 US dollars cash payments, the Midland harvested a grand total of 82,404,000 US dollars, with pledges amounting to 15,000 US dollars to be cashed soonest. With such innovative strategy brought up by the People's Interim Government, one can say without fear of favor that 2023 is really an acceleration year for the struggle as reiterated by the strategist and result-oriented president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikomisako. Now, it's on this good note we will start the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. I am Onyi Obala. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, very well, Onyi. Good evening, Ambazonians. Prior to this draft, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, while lamenting the brutal killing of two Ambazonian energetic youths, students of the University of Boya, by a notorious La Republique du Cameroon criminal calling himself a chief Moja Moja, who is more or less inhumane, smashed these dead bodies of these innocent students. He and his killer squad bundled out of their hostels to kill in front of cameras. Because of this odious act, President Sacco declared 2 days of national mourning and a special lockdown for Fako County for these 2 days, Monday 20th and Tuesday 21st March, which starts today. Dr. Samuel Ikome Sacco then made a clarion call to Amazonian financial warriors to draft more than never before to enable us free homeland sooner than later, admonishing that to whom more is given, more is expected.
He disclosed that the federal government draft will go a long way to relaunch Operation Lavish Storm and equip restoration fighters and redouble firepowers on home front in order to frustrate the enemy and put them at bay once and for all. The call for Dr. Samuel Ikomesako, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, was relayed and re-echoed this time by General Kapo of Donga Matun Ambazonia Restoration Forces, Major General Tok Andu of Bui Warriors, and General Sagun of Ngoken Suja.
While Gabonese and other fighters at home front, promising their unalloyed support to the interim government and its wonderful President Sacco, and calling on all Amazonians of goodwill to put their hands together and dip their hands deeper and deeper into their wallets to raise funds that will help them fight like never before to maintain home front, a land of no return to the colonial La Republic du Cameroon enemy forces. They passed their message through audio recordings. And I'll move on to the next report.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people.
All right, welcome back. Well, we brought you a report last week of two boys killed by Moja Moja. Well, they are identified as Linus and Mbo Akwa, both students of the University of Boya. They were abducted from their hostels at the University of Boya by Cameroon security elements. While the killer squad was led by the notorious John Ewume, who is also known as Moja Moja, and they shot and killed these two innocent southern Cameroonians in cold blood. Their corpses were paraded in public, and Moja Moja, who is a La Republique du Cameroon soldier, proceeded in camera to desecrate the two corpses by stomping on their heads and bodies.
Well, this is not only unacceptable but crosses the line of tolerance. This could be your sons, your brothers, your uncles, your fathers, or the future leaders. In a nationwide broadcast by the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sacco, during the draft, he used the opportunity to reiterate and announce national days of mourning scheduled for today, Monday the 20th, and tomorrow, Tuesday, the 21st of March, 2023. All flags must fly half-mast on Monday and Tuesday. Paco County shall be on a total lockdown, no movement or circulation of vehicles allowed, all markets closed as well.
Citizens are advised to stay home and pray for the families of the victims of these and other massacres perpetrated by La Republique du Cameroon on our innocent people. The rest of the country is expected to observe their traditional ghost town and Tuesday as a day of mourning in solidarity with FACO and the bereaved families. The interim government is calling on all US based relatives of people who have been killed by known officials of La Republique du Cameroon to come forward and help to institute a class action in the US against them.
All right, now we'll take a look at the Colonia Yaoundé kidnappers How they killed a 23-year-old Amazonian University girl. Well, Undaunted gathered that we got the sad news of the Amazonian University student identified as Diego Lewis, 23. She was found dead over 6 weeks since she was kidnapped upon her arrival in La Republic to Cameroon's colonial capital, Yaoundé. Well, Diego, who hails from Bangem local government area in Coupe Manenguba County, is said to have left Boya local government area on February 2nd for an interview in Yaoundé. And unfortunately, when unidentified men seized her around the Van neighborhood upon her arrival in La Republic du Cameroon.
All right. Well, Undaunted Source says she was found dead on Tuesday, March 14th, despite the family having paid a ransom to La Republic du Cameroon kidnappers for her release. Unfortunately, the hoodlums had long switched off the contact line after receiving the ransom they had demanded from the family. Well, the remains of Lingo Louise were discovered at the Van neighborhood, the same area where she was kidnapped last month. Well, this eyewitness says, I'm really in pain because this particular lady was a girl with dignity and she upholds Christian values, said one of the Diengo's friend who attended the same secondary school with her.
Well, before the mishap, Diego Luiz is said to have been studying at the University of Boya, a university where the notorious La Republic du Cameroon criminal by name Moja Moja just killed in complicity with his La Republic du Cameroon authorities two buoyant Amazonian youths at the master's level. Her case to a series of criminal cases recorded in colonial Yaoundé during the past weeks. Two young boys from Bui County, both motorcycle riders, were killed with their motorcycles seized. A female teenager from Bui County as well, raped to death by a La Republic du Cameroon government official. And these and many more are the tragic outcomes of what Amazonians running away from the war declared on them get to face on a daily basis. All right, now we'll take a look at the fuel scarcity we brought to you last week. Well, Undaunted reported on the fuel scarcity in Amazonia and Bamenda precisely. The situation is getting worse, with the Colonia Tradex fueling station taking advantage of the situation to exploit the automobile owners, and Tradex filling is now almost the lone filling station in Bamenda, given that other privately owned filling stations scarcely have fuel highly demanded by customers. With the La Republic du Cameroon created monopoly favoring Tradex, the price per liter is almost doubled, with desperate Amazonians left with no choice but to pay.
Well, founded in 1999 by the La Republic du Cameroon National Hydrocarbons Company (SNH) of Cameroon, Tradex is a major player in the distribution and trading of petroleum products. This implies that if Tradex is inflating the price of petroleum products in Bamenda, Amazonia, it is La Republic du Cameroon that is doing it. This unorthodox price increase by Tradex is only in Amazonia, not in La Republic du Cameroon, where they have other filling stations. The question is, why is Tradex only manipulating the prices of fuel only in Amazonia? Why are the colonial La Republic du Cameroon authorities in Bamenda keeping quiet, knowing what Tradex is doing to the desperate people of southern Cameroons?
Well, scenes like this of people lining up at gas stations in Bamenda have been common for the past few days, and people carrying liters in hands are becoming commonplaces. Most fuel stations have run out of diesel in recent days, and Tradex has it now rationing it and increasing the prices. Quote from Ndowi, a taxi driver, he says there is no fuel all over the town, now not even the illicit fuel. We heard Tradex has fuel, so we drove from Intarincon to get even a little. We can line up for 4 hours or 5 hours just to get as little as we can to run the car for the day. I've been here since 6 a.m., said a taxi driver. There is already no fuel at other filling stations where we can find petrol. We are told we can fill our tanks. This is from another cab driver as well.
Well, in the wake of scarce supplies of diesel and petrol, transporters have increased transportation fares. Prices of goods are shooting up. The fuel shortage situation is becoming unbearable for motorists and other transporters in Bamenda and surrounding towns. Dennis believe that it may be more precarious with a continuous hike in petroleum products should the scarcity continue. We managed to find petrol here at Tradex Upstation, but given the scarcity, they are giving us a liter at 1,500 francs CFA and even rationalizing because of the number of the people who are here to consume. This is from Mr. Chifo Piles, who is an urban transporter. Early this year, La Republic du Cameroon increased the prices by 20% with a liter to be sold at 720 francs. Yet Tradex is more than double the price to 1,500 francs.
Well, also, La Republic, good at dishing out lofty promises that they do not fulfill. Visiting victims of the Boya Mountain Race explosive attacks, the colonial La Republic du Cameroon Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Mwele Kombi, promised to personally take care of their bills. But this is a promise he never kept, as the victims in the hospitals were abandoned to themselves with no special treatment, no preferential treatment. And this is going to reinforce the call to boycott all La Republic du Cameroon organized activities in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia.
Well, why risk your life for a people that will not give the much needed support in times of trouble? One of the Boya Mountain Race explosive attacks died in a La Republic de Cameroon hospital as a result of the inability of the medics to act on her promptly. Is it because they were Amazonians that they were abandoned? Would it have been the same reaction if it happened to a La Republic de Cameroon citizen?
Reports has it that the deceased victim of the bomb blast that rocked Mount Cameroon race in Boya last month died because she was neglected and abandoned in the emergency ward. Ndi Linda died at the Boya Regional Hospital on February 28, 3 days after she and her three children were hit by one of the three explosives that detonated during the race.
Well, her close relative disclosed that her death was preventable. She died of negligence at the hospital. How could they leave a situation like that to students to on an internship without proper medical attention? The relative wondered. She said doctors abandoned Dorinda at the intensive. She died alone and was only discovered by cleaners. This was despite an earlier promise made by the colonial sports minister Narcisse Mwele Kombi, who visited the hospital after the explosion and promised the La Republic of Cameroon government was going to grant proper treatment to the injured victims.
Well, she was left in the intensive care unit and no family member was allowed to be by her, and she died unnoticed. Well, lamenting, she added that she was discovered to be dead by cleaners. Indy Linda sustained severe injuries on her stomach and one of her thighs due to the explosion. She was among 20 people who were injured in three bombs that occurred on February 25th, just after the Mount Cameroon race had kicked off.
The woman was injured alongside her three children as they stood in front of the house watching the race that morning. Three of the 20 injured victims were deemed severe cases, but only two were transferred to Douala for more intensive care. Two, because of their connections, they were evacuated to Douala, and this lady whose condition was the same was kept back. The relative lamented.
Well, she also regretted that the La Republic du Cameroon government did not foot the medical bills as promised by the minister. Worst of all is that the La Republic du Cameroon's government promised to take medical bills but did nothing in the end, she added. Linda's injured children, including a 1-year-old who was the youngest victim of the explosions, were taken to a different hospital for treatment. Their mother will be buried on March 26, 2023, the relatives told.
All right, these and more we can say is the reason why the interim government has decided that there should be a lockdown today and tomorrow. Well, before we get to our next report, let's get the soundbite from the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome.
Fellow Ambazonians, today, Monday, and tomorrow, Tuesday, are our national days of mourning. From our preliminary reports on the happenings in Boya, the natural disaster that occurred on Saturday, the 18th of March, 2023, the flood that came all the way from Mount Ambazonia. Families are still grappling with their losses. Some are still searching for their missing ones. Some are having to bury their loved ones, while others are injured and in hospitals receiving treatment and they need attention. This disaster, however, does not in any way eclipse the loss of Mr. Linus and Mr. Akwe. Through the cruel hands of Moja Moja and his killer squad, we mourn and continue to do so today and tomorrow, Tuesday. Our national days of mourning continue. However, with an exception for Boya and its environs for tomorrow, Tuesday. Circulation agency vehicles are allowed. All humanitarian action needed. Everything that is done to save lives, to preserve lives, to help those who are in distress is allowed. But no one should use this exception to be an open check to go against the rules of the land. I want to charge all Ambazonians. You are the first law enforcement officers. You are the and all Ambazonia restoration forces sure that the orders are not flaunted. So the rest of the nation is on a lockdown, and we mourn the killing of our people with impunity by a gang that is well known and that has even confessed to the crime, and the world is silent. So I want to thank all of you for joining the interim government and the people of Amazonia to make our grief known to the world. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. President Paul Biya, the ruler of La Republic du Cameroon, has prompted corruption, and no sector in his country is spared. Corruption has sunk deep into La Republic du Cameroon's government officials to a point where it is now a normal thing. The La Republic du Cameroon judiciary is the most corrupt of the sectors. La Republic du Cameroon gendarmerie officials on the road campaigns openly take bribes from drivers to the point of establishing a register for their victims. An officer of the La Republic du Cameroon Gendarmerie Corps has been caught on camera robbing car owners of their money on the highway. The question is why the money, or where is the money that they collect? Where does it go to? Is such an active part of their job description?
While interurban commercial drivers and auto users are helpless in front of the extortion regime placed by La Republic du Cameroon forces of law and order, and these road users share their hard-earned money with this piece at a checkpoint. The amount collected by the colonial La Republic du Cameroon forces of law and order, so to speak, ranges from the 500 francs CFA to 5,000 francs CFA. The colonial La Republic du Cameroon officers, in order not to miss out on any vehicle, create a list for those that have complied and their car registration number noted as well.
Well, a road user and one of the victims of La Republic du Cameroon gendarmerie extortion on the highway has successfully captured on camera an element of the La Republic du Cameroon gendarmerie busy extorting from road users in the name of the control. In the video that has gone viral on social media, drivers are coming one after the other, paying their way through by dishing out money to these officials. The money extorted is filed in the book in front of the police officers.
Well, the high crime wave being perpetrated in Ambazonia is, of course, carried out by such police, so to speak, deployed to Amazonia when they lack the opportunity to go out to the roads and take from road users. They resort to kidnapping, breaking into and looting business houses, and night burglary. Well, these are the types of so-called professional forces of law and order causing havoc to the people of southern Cameroon's Amazonia.
Well, a Boya town dweller with the pen name Ikule Joseph Merik Mende is bitter that the colonial La Republic du Cameroon governor Kalia Bilai is more of a liability to the people. Kalai is only interested in land grabbing, enriching himself illicitly, and insulting the people he is as even with such floods that have taken human lives. Kalai, who lives in a Bona Prison, a neighboring La Republic du Cameroon town of Douala in his comfort zone will still tell his colonial masters in Yaoundé that everything is under control when he is not even on the scene.
Oh, Kule says this Laraparon agent of Akalia, who has outlived his usefulness, should be relieved of his duty and sent elsewhere because the Southern Cameroonians are tired of him when the gods want to kill you mad. This is just what is happening to the colonial La Republic du Cameroon, Governor Okalia Bilai of the Southern Zone. It has been said following Mr. Okalia's lackluster attitude as the colonial head of the Southern Zone, though the Yaoundé authorities have decided to give deaf ears to the people's cries, things are going from bad to worse. The ancestors have decided to start manifesting their discontentment.
Mr. Okalai disinterestedness towards the lives of those he has been assigned to administrate is growing very alarming, calling them all sorts of names, such as dogs, cockroaches, rats, in certain occasion. His interest tilted is growing richer in so much that it's despite the fact that he is getting old. Now, don't get us wrong here. Now, we do not pray for anyone's dead, especially the colonial government who fervently playing the music of cruelty right now. It is an establishment that has, as you grow older, you must definitely observe the law of nature.
Well, Mr. Okalia is now more of a ceremonial governor than a civil servant overseeing the well-being and the day-to-day functioning of the La République du Cameroon colonial occupier state machinery. He has long denied being the governor of the Southern Zone, though still forced to stay in power. He has long elected his residence elsewhere from the site of his area of command. He is relocated to Bonapriso, Douala in the littoral region in neighboring La République du Cameroon, abandoning his official residence in Buea. From his comfort zone in Douala, he declares how every havoc in the southern zone is under control.
While the gods of Fakok and those of the southern zone jointly decide to expose him again, this time a mighty downpour lasting for hours within the periphery of his office and official residence caused an automatic and unexpected flood, which unfortunately did not spare the lives of some denizens moving around their daily activities. Well, all we can say here is may their gentle peace. What is colonial secessionist father of the Southern Zone to take stock and report of their sinister to the colonial master. Where is the colonial Republic to Cameroon father of the Southern Zone to console victims, natural calamity and encourage them? Where is the Yaoundé colonial envoy to Buea of the Southern Zone to forward affected population words of assurance and comfort from the colonial government? The simple answer to the above is that he is out of town. He left on Friday inside a military armored car under intensive guard to his comfort zone in Douala.
Well, we'll be expecting him as usual to shamelessly declare before television cameras things under control. I hear some blaming PCAM, the French Cameroon Sewage Disposal Company, for no proper management of sewage disposal, which has blocked the waterway in the town as the cause of the flood. Others blaming the council for the poor town planning by issuing permits, which have caused buildings to be erected on the waterway. Why are they not blaming the colonial governor for allowing the disorder in the town, which he is supposed to exert his command most? He has all the services competent in putting in order the headquarters of the Southern Zone, but disorder still persists.
Well, he should show to us one communique imposing to the Buya Council on a proper organization of the town, being the landlord as he is purported, or his landlordship over the town is to grab land. What is now his role as the Colonial Republic to Cameroon head of the region? Has the authority only on the services charged with lands, which he has a lot of stakes in grabbing? Check in recent times how Buea local government area has suffered from calamities in all domains, be it natural or man-made. Detonation of explosive to disrupt the 50th anniversary of the mountain race, incessant Amazonian freedom fighters, and the Colonial Republic of Cameroon military attacks, and now an unexpected flood after a few hours rains in the month of March.
Well, it means if the rains of the months of July and August hits the ground for 1 week, as in the old, then a Noah shall be needed to urgently build an ark to survive the people of Boya local government area. Well, at this time, Colonia Okalia be relieved of his duty as the La Republic of Cameroon's governor of the Southern Zone, as many would say. The Southern Zone has witnessed a lot of calamities and bloodshedding during his reign than ever before. Just to think of it, Sonara exploded and it is down under his stewardship. And up to this moment, we do not know when another refinery will come up.
CDC, the pride of the Anglo-Saxon Southern Cameroon's heritage, the second highest employer after the colonial La Republic of Cameroon state, is going down just as dead gradually takes away life from an AIDS patient. Youths have all turned bloodthirsty and pluck out life from their compatriots as games in the park. Land grabbing with impunity has become the order of the day. Fine brains are being wiped out in an unnecessary war instigated by his utterances. Customs and traditions are dishonored as a permanent basis, and then the rest.
Well, every good story has an end. Colonial Kalia's page should be over by now. He is more of a problem to the people of southern Cameroon than a solution, that is what somebody would say. Liberate us from the bondage. If the colonial Yaoundé junta still finds him useful as their colonial governor, then he should be transferred to another place since sending him away on a deserved retirement looks to be like a taboo. Unless Yaoundé is making us believe that this land grabber Kale is just an agent of theirs to destroy the peace of the peoples of Amazon. All this is courtesy Ikule Joseph Merrick Mendy Boyatown.
All right, and moving on, the people of Amazonia are having two principal enemies amongst their list of enemies. These enemies are the Amazonia Defense Forces, that is the ADF, and La Republic of Cameroon, LRC. The people of Batibo are convinced by the actions on the ground that ADF is a subsection of La Republic de Cameroon. They camouflage to be protecting the people of southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Meanwhile, their goal is to side with La Republic de Cameroon and increase the pain of Ambazonians.
Well, the people of Batibo have suffered a lot from the ongoing war in Amazonia, yet the Amazonian Defense Force have imposed a tax of 5,000 francs CFA on every woman and 10,000 francs CFA on every man. How can the ADF increase the pain of the people with such a tax? Well, people living in Batibo, Momo County of the restive southern Cameroon, have said the Amazonian Defense Force ADF, a faction of the separatist fighters under AGOFC operating in the area, are making life unbearable for them. A victim of what has been described as an ADF extortion scheme explained that the fighters have levied compulsory taxes on them and have made life more complicated amid general economic hardship. All men are forced to pay 10,000 francs CFA and women 5,000 francs CFA each year to the ADF as tax. A resident of Batibo and victim of the exploitative scheme explained.
Well, these are people who say they are fighting for us. Just recently at Kuwait, ADF fighters evaluated all foodstuffs like cooking oil, plantains, and other crops and taxes paid to the ADF before they could be sold, the victim said. He noted that the separatists abused and victimized the population just about 2 kilometers from Amba, a village in Batibo where a military post is located. A local said, "We strongly believe that at the juncture, the separatists could be conspiring with the Cameroon military to milk the population."
Well, Kugwe and Ewe villages in Batibo local government area have remained strongholds of the Amazonian Defense Forces during the past 5 years of the ongoing conflict in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. In the past, the group has extended some of its attacks to Wabani local government area in Lebialem County, where they are said to have killed many people suspected of working with the La Republic of Cameroon military. In August last year, soldiers launched an assault on the ADF camp in Batibo, where they killed at least 10 fighters and dispersed some. Well, we will be back right after this break.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, now in West Africa and Nigeria, courtesy of this day, we were able to get a compendium of reports on the long anticipated gubernatorial elections from diverse states in Nigeria this past weekend. While in Delta, PDP's Obore Wori wins the Guba poll, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has declared Chief Sheriff Oborori of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) as the winner of the March 18 governorship election in Delta. The state INEC collation officer said.
Professor O. George Will, the Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt, made the declaration on Monday in Asaba, Delta State, Nigeria. Professor George Will said that Oborowore polled a total of 360,000 votes to defeat his closest opponent, Senator Ovie Omo Agege of the All Progressive Party (APC), who scored 240,299 votes. Sharif Obuware, having satisfied the requirements of the law, was declared the winner of the governorship election and returned elected.
Well, George Will said that Mr. Kennedy Pella of the Labour Party came third with 48,027 votes, while Mr. Great Oboguru of All Progressive Grand Alliance, that is APGA, came fourth with 11,021 votes. He said the number of registered voters were 3,221,687, while the total number of accredited voters were 710,000. 829. George Will added that the total number of rejected votes was 15,384, and the total votes cast was 687, 121. A breakdown of the results on local government basis, as announced by the local government coalition officers, show that Oberewori won in 21 local government areas, while Omo Agege won in 4 out of the 25 local government areas of the state.
In Kwara State, Nigeria, Kwara State Governor Abdulrazak said the overwhelming victory that the All Progressive Congress, that is the APC, recorded in Saturday's polls underscored the desire of the citizens to continue along the path of positive progress. It says Kwara has recorded over the past 3 years. Now, in his words, he says the victory is truly humbling and they give all the praise to God who made it happen. He spoke to the people understanding of the history and asked them to appreciate the progress made between last Saturday's election and their commitment to a greater tomorrow. He says it reflects the wishes of Kwara State as a home in a diaspora to sustain the gains of the past 3.5 years.
Well, APC's Umar Bago wins Niger Guba elections. PDP campaign spokesperson quakes politics, and the All Progressives Congress candidate in Saturday's governorship election in Niger State, Alhaji Umar Mohammed Bago, has been declared the winner of the contest. Bago, a member of the House of Representatives, polled 469,896 votes to defeat his closest challenger, Alhaji Issa Liman Kantigi of the People's Democrats, who scored 387,476 votes.
While the Labour Party candidate, Mr. Joshua Bawa, recorded 3,415 votes, and the new Nigerian People's Political Party candidate, Alhaji Ibrahim Sokadeke, scored 3,378 votes. With this victory announced by the INEC returning officer, Professor Clement Alawa, Deputy Vice Chancellor University of Abuja, Bago will become the seventh civilian governor of the state after Alhaji Mohammed Ibrahim, Alhaji Musa Mohammed, Engineer Abdullahi Abdukure, Dr. Muazu Babangida Aliu, and the current governor Abubakar Sani Bello. Meanwhile, the director of the communications of the Isa Liman Kantigi campaign organization Alhaji Mohammed Yahya Usman on Sunday has reportedly quit politics.
Well, Yahya Usman, in a statement made available to this day, said he took the action for personal reasons. The statement reads, "Either way it goes, I have come full circle. I suspend my membership of partisan politics. I am now neutral. I wish to focus on developing business with my social life with everyone. Those very close to me know about this plan long ago. I wish everyone the best in life."
While in another state in Nigeria called Kaduna State, the APC has taken a lead in the gubernatorial election. While Senator Uba Sani, candidate of the ruling All Progressive Congress in Kaduna State, is leading in the result of Saturday's governorship election so far declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission in Kaduna. Of the results announced in 22 out of the 23 local government areas in the state, the APC is leading with over 12,000 votes in 10 local government areas each one. The PDP's candidate Isa Sharu trails behind even though he won in 12 local government areas.
Well, the APC won in Giwa, Ikara Karu, Sabon Gari, Kubau, Zaria, Kaduna North, Kaduna South, Igabi, and Burning Gwari local government areas. The PDP won in 12 local government areas: Karu, Sanga, Kajuru, Jaba, Makarfi, Jama, Sangon, Zataf, Zoba, Tikun, Kagaro, Kachia, and Leary. Results from the remaining one local government area, Kudan, the home of the PDP candidate, was yet to be announced as INEC had adjourned collation until 6 p.m. on the election day. Well, meanwhile, there is growing tension in Kaduna. The state as residents anxiously await the outcome of the election. The state government, in a statement on Monday, said security agencies had been put on high alert to crush any attempt to cause trouble.
Well, the statement signed by Samuel Aruan, Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, said the state government had received intelligence reports indicating plans by some individuals and groups to spread disaffection and instigate violence in the Kaduna metropolis and other major cities in the state. Aruan said security agencies are conducting diligent investigations into these reports, warning that individuals and groups found to be behind such activities will be vigorously prosecuted.
Well, there has been growing tension in the state as residents await the outcome of Saturday's governorship elections from around the states. The statement reads, Kaduna State government hereby informs citizens that security agencies are on high alert to contain threats to law and order throughout the state. This development follows intelligent reports indicating plans by some individuals and groups to spread disaffection and instigate violence in Kaduna metropolis and other major centers in the state. Security agencies are conducting diligent investigations into this report. Individuals and groups found to be behind such activities will be vigorously prosecuted, as they reiterated. And it is important to reiterate that street protests remain strictly prohibited to prevent any possible breakdown of law and order. Government appeals to citizens to volunteer information on any such activities, and they also gave out their helplines.
All right, INEC declares Ochu of the Cross River State governor as the governor elect. The governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, APC in Cross River State, Prince Basi Edet Ochu, has been declared winner of the March 18th governorship election in the state. The state returning officer for INEC, Professor Teddy Charles of the Federal University, Otueki, Bayelsa State, who made the announcements on Monday afternoon at the INEC headquarters in Calabar, said the APC candidates polled 258,619 votes to emerge winner of the election. He said Otu's closest rival and candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Sandy O'Neill, polled 179,636 votes. He said the votes recorded by other parties that sponsored candidates and participated in the governorship elections are also there.
The returning officer said the number of registered voters in the state stood at 1,766,466, and total number of accredited voters was 466,294. He said the total valid votes casted was 451,933, and the number of rejected votes was 8,923. The returning officer said the total votes cast in the election was 460,856. Professor Charles said the total number of cancelled votes was 44,486, and therefore less than 78,983 votes, which is the margin of votes between the highest votes cast and the second highest number of votes cast.
The returning officer therefore declared Utubasi head of the APC as the winner of the election and governor-elect having satisfied the constitutional and legal requirement to be declared. APC's Nwafiro also wins the Ebonyi State Nigeria gubernatorial election, Benjamin Wariri in Abakaliki. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has declared the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Mr. Francis Nwifuru, as the winner of Ebonyi governorship election. The returning officer and vice chancellor of the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, Professor Charles Igwe, announced that Nwifuru scored 199,131 votes to defeat his closest challenger and candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Ifeanyi Odi, who polled 80,191 votes.
The candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, Professor Ben Odo, came a distant third position with 52,189 votes. Meanwhile, the declaration of Nwifuru as the winner of the governorship election has resulted in wide jubilation at the capital city as supporters thronged the streets with musical instruments.
Well, the governor-elect and Speaker of Ebonyi State House of Assembly dedicated his victory to God. He said that he would strive to meet the needs of the people of Ebonyi State, Nigeria, and consolidate the achievement of the present administration of David Umahi.
Well, INEC suspends coalition of governorship results in Enugu. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has suspended the collation of results for the governorship elections in Enugu State. A breakdown of results collated Sunday shows that Peter Amba of the People's Democratic Party is leading in the race, having won 9 out of the 17 local government areas in the state. He's closely followed by the candidate of the Labour Party, Chijoke Edioga, who won 8 of the local governments announced.
However, a winner is yet to be declared after INEC, returning officer for the Enugu State governorship election, Madubisi Ifowe, announced the suspension of the collection of results for Ankara East and Nsukka local government areas following an allegation of non-usage of the bimodal voter accreditation system, gross irregularities, and intimidation of voters. In a statement in his official Twitter account on Monday, the National Commissioner and Chairman of the Voter Education Committee of the Commission, Mr. Festus Okoye, said that the decision to suspend the collection was taken after a review of the election. Well, as we can see that there's a whole lot of irregularities that has marred the Nigerian election so far. The question is, how can Africa get it right? Nigeria is considered the giant of Africa, but in the presidential and gubernatorial elections, we have seen gross irregularities and voter misconduct. Well, let's hope that other African countries will get it right.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, and the update on the Russia and Ukraine story. President Xi Jinping will hold talks in Moscow later today as part of China's attempt to craft a political settlement to the more than year-long war in Ukraine, which began that Russia invaded the country in February 2022. Well, this war in Ukraine is 1 year, yet the world has not stopped talking about it. But the war in southern Cameroon's Amazonia is 6 years, a whole 6 years, 6 years of pain and agony, 6 years of killings and annihilation, 6 years of over 45,000 lives lost. Yet the world is yet to talk about it. Countries are finding ways to come in to resolve the conflict in Ukraine and Russia, but at the same time keeps a dead ear to the war in southern Cameroon.
Well, it's very sad, as you can see. Xi has said China's proposal will offer a constructive way to end the crisis, but has warned that complex problems do not have simple solutions. Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet his Russia counterpart Vladimir Putin for talks over the war in Ukraine, and he will be talking about one, respecting the sovereignty of all countries, universally recognized international law, including the purposes and principles of the United Nations Charter must be strictly observed. The sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of all countries must be effectively upheld. All countries, big or small, strong or weak, rich or poor, are equal members of the international community, and all parties should jointly uphold the basic norms governing international relations and defend international fairness and justice. Equal and uniform application of international law should be promoted, while double standards must be rejected.
Well, another point is abandoning the Cold War mentality. The security of a country should not be pursued at the expense of others. And this is what Ambazonians are seeking for. The security of a region should not be achieved by threatening or expanding military blocs. The legitimate security interests and concerns of all countries must be taken seriously and addressed properly. Now, there is no simple solution to a complex issue. All parties should following the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security, and bearing in mind the long term peace and stability of the world, help forge a balanced, effective, and sustainable European security architecture. All parties should oppose the pursuit of one's own security at the cost of other security, prevent bloc confrontation, and work together for peace and stability at the Eurasian continent.
Well, the third point is ceasing hostilities. Conflict and war benefit no one. All parties must stay rational and exercise restraint, avoid fanning the flames and aggravating tensions, and prevent the crisis from deteriorating further or even spiraling out of control. All parties should support Russia and Ukraine in working in the same direction and resuming direct dialogues as quickly as possible so as to gradually de escalate the situation and ultimately reach a comprehensive ceasefire.
Resuming peace talks is number four. Dialogue and negotiations are the only viable solution to the Ukraine crisis. All efforts conducive to the peaceful settlement of the crisis must be encouraged and supported. The international community should stay committed to the right approach of promoting talks for peace, help parties to the conflict open and doors to a political settlement as soon as possible. Not just that, create conditions and platform for the resumption of negotiation. China will continue to play a constructive role in this regard.
Well, the fifth point is resolving the humanitarian crisis. All measures conducive to easing the humanitarian crisis must be encouraged and supported. Humanitarian operations should follow the principles of neutrality and impartiality, and humanitarian issues should not be politicized. The safety of civilians must be effectively protected. The humanitarian corridors should be set up for the evacuation of civilians from conflict zones. Efforts are needed to increase humanitarian assistance to relevant areas, improve humanitarian conditions, and provide rapid, safe, and unimpeded humanitarian access with a view to preventing a humanitarian crisis on a larger scale. The UN should be supported in playing a coordinating role in channeling humanitarian aid to conflict zones.
Well, 6 protecting civilians and prisoners of war. Parties to the conflict should strictly abide by international humanitarian law, avoid attacking civilians or civilian facilities, protect women, children, and other victims of the conflict, and respect the basic rights of the prisoners of war. China will support the exchange of prisoners of war between the Russia and Ukraine and calls on the parties to create more favorable conditions for this purpose. The seventh is keeping nuclear power plants safe. China opposes armed attacks against nuclear power plants or other peaceful nuclear facilities.
The eighth point is reducing strategic risk. Nuclear weapons must not be used and nuclear wars must not be fought. The threat or use of nuclear weapons should be opposed. Nuclear proliferations must be prevented and nuclear crises avoided. China opposes the research, development, and use of chemical and biological weapons by any country and under any circumstances. Well, and now sports.
And in sports, first of its kind schools football competition heads to KwaZulu Natal in South Africa. Total of 44,000 African boys and girls participated in the inaugural event. Motsepe Foundation has donated 10 million US dollars in prizes.
Also in sports, Carlos Alcaraz breezed past Daniil Medvedev to win the Indian Wells title and return to world number one. Spaniard Alcaraz, 19, needed only 1 hour, 11 minutes to seal a 6-3, 6-2 win that took him above Novak Djokovic at the top of the ATP rankings. Let's have Gabellison tell us more.
The latest world sports. Football. Durban's Kings Welitini Stadium to host the historical CAF African Schools Football Championship Final on 5th to 8th April. First of its kind schools football competition heads to KwaZulu Natal in South Africa. Total of 44,000 African boys and girls participated in the inaugural event. Motsepe Foundation has donated 10 million US dollars in prizes, an endowment to contribute to the development of school football in Africa. Finals will be played between 5th to 8th April 2023 at Kings Welitini Stadium. Durban, South Africa, will host the inaugural much-anticipated CAF African Schools Football Championship Continental Final Phase at Kings Welitini Stadium from 5th to 8th April 2023. The first year of the program, a historic and first-of-its-kind schools program that has attracted over 44,000 boys and girls in 41 African countries under the age of 15 to not only compete on the field, but to be empowered through a number of programs aimed at capacity building. This is culmination of a journey that started with schools competition at national level and then zonal level. The continental phase of the competition will see some of the greatest talents from the zone's winning schools compete for the ultimate prize in what is expected to be a weekend of festivities in KwaZulu-Natal, Durban. The final will be played on Saturday, 8 April 2023. CAF General Secretary Veron Mosengo Amba commented, "We are excited to reach this state and to see what started as a vision being implemented and benefiting the young people in Africa. It is history in the making. The CAF African Schools Football Championship is very important to CAF. It is important to Africa, and it is very important to CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe. For the first time, CAF is not just talking about developing the youth, but we are investing in a tangible way to the future of Africa. We are giving hope. We are giving a platform." On the final in Durban, Mosengo Omba added, following extensive consultation that also included inviting member associations to submit applications to host, South Africa's Durban was given the go-ahead. "We have a lot of confidence that we will work together with SAFA, with South African government and KwaZulu-Natal to ensure that this is a success. CAF President Dr. Motsepe's vision to invest in youth. The CAF African Schools Football Championship was first announced by CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire in April 2021. At the announcement, Dr. Motsepe had said, "The best investment we can make to ensure that African football is amongst the best in the world and self-sustaining is to invest in schools football and youth football development infrastructure for boys and girls at club and national level. This is one of my key focus areas as president of CAF. Since its launch in Mozambique last year, the CAF African Schools Football Championship has already impacted many lives thanks to a donation of 10 million US dollars by the Motsepe Foundation that will go into prizes of schools at national, zonal, and continental level. Schools will be able to use the money for development projects." Tennis. Indian Wells. Carlos Alcaraz beats Daniil Medvedev in final to return to world number one. Carlos Alcaraz breezed past Daniil Medvedev to win the Indian Wells title and return to world number one. Spaniard Alcaraz, 19, needed only 1 hour 11 minutes to seal a 6-3, 6-2 win that took him above Novak Djokovic at the top of the ATP rankings. It is the US Open's third career Masters 1000 title. It feels amazing to lift the trophy here, to recover the number one. "I will say this has been the perfect tournament," Alcaraz said. Djokovic was forced to withdraw from the tournament in California because he was unable to enter the United States because he was not vaccinated against COVID-19. He will also miss the week's Miami Open, where Alcaraz is defending champion. Alcaraz broke Russian Medvedev early in the opening set to open up a 3-0 lead and never looked like relinquishing his grip on the match. He won the first 10 points of the second set to move into a 4-0 lead before sealing victory without facing a breakpoint. "Daniil obviously didn't play at his best level, but I'm very happy for my performance and how I played this tournament," said Alcaraz. "I expected a tougher match. Against him is always a tactic match, and I did perfect today. That's why it looks easy, but it wasn't." Alcaraz is only the second player after compatriot Rafael Nadal to win at least 3 Masters 1000 titles as a teenager. He lost the world number one spot in January after Djokovic's triumph at the Australian Open, which Alcaraz missed because of injury. He returned to action in February, winning the Argentina Open and reaching the final of the Rio Open. Alcaraz must successfully defend his Miami Open title in order to stay at the top of the rankings. Defeat was Medvedev's first in 19 matches, having come into the tournament on the back of successive wins in Rotterdam, Doha, and Dubai. He struggled to cope with the windy conditions against Alcaraz and also appeared hampered by an ankle injury suffered in his fourth-round win over Alexander Zverev, as well as a split thumb sustained in the quarterfinals against Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. "Why didn't I play my best? I don't know," said Medvedev. "Maybe it was his ball, maybe it was the wind, the ankle, the thumb, the tennis, wind, whatever, but we almost made it. I will try to be better next time." Nadal has dropped out of the world's top 10 for the first time since April 2005, a run of 912 consecutive weeks. The 36-year-old, who has slipped to 13th, has not played since injuring his left leg at the Australian Open, but is hoping to return on the day of Monte Carlo next month. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. And with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's give you a recap of our major stories.
And tonight we'll talk to you about the draft, the Game Changer 2023 World Draft moving on. Also, the interim government declared Monday and Tuesday as ghost towns. La Republic du Cameroon also remains unsafe for Amazonian refugees as we saw a 23-year-old die.
Well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that Amazonians get exploited with fuel scarcity by Tredex filling station. And also, Boya mountain race explosion victims abandoned to die. And that was it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news on Church Stories. On behalf of my co-anchor here, Star Smart, and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Good night and God bless you.